Well, first of all, I'm excited that we're here this morning on behalf of the Cannabis Certification Council. And my name is Rue Johnson, and I work at the Council on Marketing and Communications. And a big part of our programming for this year is really centered around using all of our resources to elevate the voices and the mission of businesses, companies, brands, and things of that nature that connect with our values and mission around sustainability. And so, first of all, it's Black History Month. So we have a couple more days. It's Black History Month. So I would be remiss to not mention that a big part of our work to highlight Black history this month in particular really involves connecting with our members and brands and other people who are Black and Indigenous people of color, specifically Black. So bringing that to the reason why we're here today, I'm really excited to talk with you both about the work and the mission of BIPOCANN. So I have a million questions, first of all, which I'm really excited about. So just go with it. But I want to start by having you both introduce yourselves, give us a little bit of background. And I want to start with Zach, because then Ernest, I'd love for you to segue your introduction into the founding of BIPOCANN. So take it away, Zach. Tell us every single thing about you.
Oh, gosh. Well, thank you. We appreciate it. Very excited to be here. My name is Zach Walker. I am a digital marketer by trade. Prior to me getting introduced to Ernest, I was part of the cannabis industry for about 14 months, specifically here in Chicago, Illinois, where I worked for Grassroots Cannabis, which is now part of the Curaleaf family. And I basically led up all things social media and influencer marketing for cannabis brands. So Grassroots Cannabis, which is a cultivation brand. And then at the time, they owned 3 unique dispensary brands across multiple markets for both medical and recreational. Very exciting time there. Absolutely loved the ability to be, I won't even call it the ground floor, but what felt like the ground floor at the time. Really getting to join an ever-changing industry. I originally came from an advertising background, so I had worked a lot on CPG brands, so consumer packaged goods brands like Oscar Mayer, Lunchables, Kool-Aid, Triscuit, you name it. And then I also worked for an alcohol brand for a little bit called Fireball Whiskey. And so both of those brands and categories really lead into the cannabis industry in terms of consumer packaged goods. And then obviously, because the cannabis industry is highly regulated, there is a need for professionals, both marketers and outside of the marketing field, that have that experience. So absolutely love my time there. I got to be part of legalization here in Illinois, so got to work with a lot of exciting times within the industry. Got a chance to not only meet a bunch of people across multiple states, but one of the big things I was really excited about doing was partnering with influencers, both here in Chicago, but all across the country, that have been part of the cannabis industry and have been fighting to figure out a way how to get in and work with some of these bigger brands, like the Crescos, the Grassroots Cannabises of the world, and things like that. So really awesome opportunity. Got to meet a lot of amazing people. Shortly after COVID hit, obviously everybody's tightening their belts, and unfortunately I had to look for a new role, but thankfully that gave me the opportunity to meet Ernest and get to learn a little bit more about what he was doing. And, I think for me, it was a really great opportunity because I got to see firsthand what the industry looked like from the inside in terms of representation and diversity. And while there's been a huge amount of progress done so far, obviously there's a lot more to go. So for me, it was a really great opportunity to get to know a little bit about Ernest, his journey, and how I could help support what he's doing at BIPOCANN.
That's awesome. So great. I will have so many circle back for you on that. What a resume. Thank you. Ernest.
Thank
you. Hey, good morning. Yeah, Zach, that was good. It was nice to, I know we talked about your background a lot, but it was good to hear it again. Yeah, hey everybody, I'm Ernest Toney. I'm the founder of BIPOCANN, and I can tell you a little bit about my journey and sort of how this came to be. So I moved to Denver, Colorado about a decade ago. So I was here, full year before Colorado Amendment 64 hit the ballots. So that was a really exciting time to be down, living downtown in the city and starting to pay attention to, just all of the talk and chatter about, this new industry. And, that was it was pretty exciting to be in, sort of like the thick of it. So like right after Colorado became the first adult use market in the state, it was hard for me to ignore just what that meant, from an economic standpoint. So I started paying a lot more attention to, the cannabis industry and, started to experience everything that was happening with this growing and booming market. You saw a lot of jobs created, a lot of, increased tourism. We saw like real estate prices go up, and as a result, started to see some gentrification play out, as sort of a byproduct of the booming market. So, fast forward a few years, I was trying to figure out how to get into the industry, and I got my start at Marijuana Business Daily. So I was there for a couple of years, working in, various marketing roles, initially as an international marketing manager. And, did some pretty cool projects there to help, expand the company's global reach and help, lead and play an important role in the event marketing launches in Canada, Europe, and Latin America. And part of that required, building relationships because we didn't have presence in those markets. So, you needed to have strong partnerships and allies. So that directly segued into a role where I was handling the marketing partnerships. So doing the negotiations and managing those roles and executing them. And, I was really enjoying that work. It helped expand my reach. I got connected to groups like the council and, some other advocacy groups within the space. But, within a couple of years, you're going to the big global shows and going to other industry events. And to sort of touch on what Zach said, it was really easy to see that there was a lack of like minority representation, in the industry. Last year, in 2020, we started to see the cannabis industry become more, aware and intentional about addressing some of the historical challenges that have caused like this disparity within the marketplace. So, you started seeing more conversations about social equity. A lot of companies paying attention to, the histories with the war on drugs and how it's impacted communities of color. And, I think there was just like a lot of companies that were trying to figure out what they could do to address the problems and how they could sort of be, how they can become more educated. And I saw that, not only were there some gaps in the market, but also an opportunity to sort of use my insights, reach, and connections to sort of build that bridge. So I created BIPOCANN, which stands for, Black, Indigenous people and people of color in cannabis. So BIPOCANN is about connecting, folks from those BIPOC communities who want to get into the industry, but it's also about connecting existing cannabis industry companies and brands to, BIPOC folks. So, I'll sort of leave it at that. I'm sure Rui probably has some questions about what we specifically do, but we got a lot of cool things going on in the works. So.
That's awesome. The visionary. Ernest and I know each other from his work at Marijuana Business Daily. And I feel like it was so clear that your mission was to just build a bigger and broader conversation around these issues of equity that really allow for more access for Black and Indigenous people of color. So I want to talk about that aspect of it, how BIPOCANN supports the efforts of those who make access, or who make the industry more accessible, if you will. And then I want to talk about the importance of especially BIPOC folks seeing our efforts in the industry outside of doing things that just involve touching the plants. And so I would love if both you and Zach can talk a little bit about the importance of BIPOCANN's work in creating more accessibility for the industry and supporting the efforts of those. Zach, you can go first if you want.
Yeah, definitely. I think you brought up a really great point, Rue, that it's not just touching the plant in terms of cultivation or, even, for example, being in a dispensary and working as a bud tender or a cannabis expert. There's so many different aspects of the entire cannabis industry. When I was at Grassroots Cannabis, it was really great to be a part of that marketing team. It was probably one of the most diverse teams I've actually worked with in a very long time. And I think that says a lot about leadership. And I think that's where you really, you see people get the opportunities to be a part of this industry and multiple facets. I think one of my colleagues, former colleagues, he leads up all things corporate social responsibility for Curaleaf now. And so as a person of color, it's great to see him succeed in that role and really just, continue to not only showcase that people of color have the the skills and the technical capabilities to work these leadership roles, but that's how you create a more equitable, industry, a more equitable company overall. I think, another big thing that I was really excited about was partnering with and identifying people of color who have already been in the cannabis industry. One person that I'm a huge fan of and continue to love to see his growth is Chef Manny Mendoza and his team at Herbal Notes. They're based in Chicago. Manny had basically been doing fine dining cannabis inspiration, almost pop-up meals and things like that. As soon as, legalization hit, he hit the ground running. He knew what he already wanted to do. He wanted to showcase that people of color have a place in this industry. And not only was his growth recognized here in Chicago, but across the country. He was on one of the Netflix, cooking with cannabis shows that was like Chopped, but with cannabis, and he won his episode. So, I think it's really great opportunity. And I think that's why BIPOCANN can come in and give people the opportunity, whether you're an organization, you're looking to create a more diverse workforce, or if you're a business leader and you're looking for ways to bring in, whether it's consultants, whether it's service providers that are Black, Indigenous, or people of color. I think BIPOCANN is a really great opportunity to help change what this industry looks like and make it easier for business leaders to make that happen.
Yeah, that's okay. So that's so important because it is definitely about skill and talent and connection and access and all of that, right? But none of that means anything if business leaders aren't making a point to be very specific about bringing in Black and Indigenous people of color in the cannabis industry, specifically those who've been affected by the war on drugs or who are from those communities. So that's really important. And I'm going to check out that Netflix episode. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's very cool. So, and Ernest, yeah, I want you to speak to that. And then also be very specific, like what does BIPOCANN do? Like how can we bring more people into the fold who can really access this network?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll sort of focus on a few different areas. You may have heard this saying before, but when you're talking about representation, it's about you can't be what you can't see. So when you're walking around, at conferences or sort of taking a look at the makeup of the industry, and you're looking at, the boardrooms and executive leadership, and then if you just like look at the sheer business ownership within the industry, whether it's dispensary or ancillary, which are the businesses that support it, you just don't have a lot of representation from Black and brown or BIPOC communities. So that's why visibility plays an important role in that. So one of the things I want to do is like get someone like Zach who has expertise in like amplification, so that we can highlight the companies that join our membership network, or the companies that support or sponsor us, making it very intentional to like use our platforms, working with partners so that we can be seen through conferences, through interviews, podcasts. That visibility, the more that you're out there, the more that you can get your brand out there, the more that people start to recognize like what you do, and you tend to elevate like the folks who are associated with you. So visibility definitely is going to continue to be an important part of it. But in terms of like the brass tacks of like how to actually make the impact, there's a few different things that we do. I mentioned that we have this business network, our BIPOC Cannabis Business Network, and we have that available for anyone, like any company that is interested in participating. And when they join, there is like that opportunity for us to promote. Like first off, like we have a lot of different marketing pieces that we use to sort of recognize them for their support, but we end up building like this growing community. Okay, so we know companies that align with our mission and that have said that they want to, work with us and work through us to, play that role in being more connected to diverse, populations. And then we can start bringing folks together. So a lot of times when you hear folks talking about social equity, policy is very, very important, but it's only one of the levers that you can pull. So very much, paying attention and being involved, with, legislators and, doing some advocacy works in different markets to try to use our expertise and use our network to make sure that new bills, for example, include, provisions that are going to help the communities that have been most impacted. So that's one piece that we're always going to be, fighting for. But when it comes to the specifics, we're also working on some workforce, diversity and workforce solutions. So you can sort of think of us as being that bridge, being that middleman. So if your company is, recognizes that you have a lack of representation, in your workforce, then you can work with us so that we can help, consult, identify what your goals are and see if we can be a resource to sort of help that. So that's one way that, one thing that you'll probably be seeing more of in the next few weeks, starting to build out a job board where, member businesses and companies that want to source candidates through us, for example, could go.
That's amazing. So I think there's a couple of things that can really be beneficial when it comes to advancing the conversation about inclusion or diversity, which I feel like are all really buzzwords, especially over the past 10 months, right? But it is important. And I think that one thing that we talk about when it comes to social equity is, finding the folks who can most benefit or who have been most impacted. And that is so important. On an ancillary supportive business note, how can someone who maybe does not live in a zip code that was, impacted by the war on drugs, but they have a really strong, marketing mind, or they have, a really great understanding of how to work the internet. All these young kids who are 21 and 22, they all know how to work the internet, way in very different ways, right? But maybe they don't have sort of that equity foundation. How can they see themselves as a part of this conversation of introduction to the cannabis industry? And I'd love for both of you to answer that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's a really important piece to focus on, right? This industry is not just about dispensary ownership. And a lot of times when I speak to folks, especially back at home, Virginia and other, communities, it's I want to get in, I want to start a dispensary. Well, that's cool. I'm not trying to deter you from doing that. But it's also very competitive. There's a long waiting game. There's a lot of funds that you have to raise. So we're trying to also educate and let people know that there are other opportunities to participate in this industry. And I believe personally, the barriers to entry are lower, on the ancillary and supporting side. And I think the opportunities to grow and scale quickly are higher that way too. So one of the things that we do is try to figure out how we can be that resource to for folks who have a service, or if they want to be a vendor, if you specialize in something that's marketing or finance or accounting, or if you do a business that you believe is going to provide benefit to this industry, then we want to connect you so that not only can you be a part of our network, but when we're working with a company that says that they want to have diversity in their vendors, we can then again be that matchmaker and connect you.
Yeah, that's great, Ernest. And I think with what I would tell myself at a younger age, I think if you're looking for ways to get involved, sometimes it's just as simple as just asking, right? It feels weird to do that, just email an organization, or there are plenty of nonprofits that need people who can help with digital marketing, that can help with finance, that can help with business logistics. Some of these organizations have been doing it scrappy for years and would love to see an email come in and say, hey, I have X, Y, and Z skill. Do you have a need for me? Maybe the answer is no, but more often than not, those types of organizations will find a way to put you to work. I think to Ernest's point, like there's sometimes you just got to ask, but I think it gives you a real great opportunity to see how you can help make a change, even if it's not in the most direct way that you think would be possible.
Yes, agree with that. You have to get in the game 100%. So action items, right? So, and I feel like we have twofold. How can businesses join the network so that potential candidates can see that they are a great business that has met this criteria based on how you both have vetted it? How can businesses connect with the network? And then also, how can individuals, is their best method to join as members, or should they peruse the job board when that you already have sort of the network already created on the website? But what's the best way for folks to find an action and take an action to be involved with BIPOCANN?
Yeah, I would say like if you're interested in joining, whether it's an individual or a business member, then first off, you go ahead and visit the site. It's bipocann.com, BIPOCANN.com. You can also send an email at info@BIPOCANN, and that's going to be a good way for us to start the conversation. I would also sort of just would probably say, follow us on social. He's the one that's managing those platforms, so he's your guy if you want to, have those DMs and those direct conversations.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, to echo Ernest's point, definitely check out the website, bipocann.com. We are active on social media. So, if that's where you're spending most of your time, reach out to us there. Comment on something, send us a DM. I think there are a lot of ways to get involved, similar to how I got involved with Ernest. So, definitely looking for the opportunity to continue to grow what Ernest has been doing in 2020 and into this year as well.
Yeah, and seriously, Zach and I didn't know each other, but he's commented on a post that I made on LinkedIn, and that's how we started the conversation. So we're both accessible there too.
Every time someone talks about a LinkedIn success story, it always reminds me to go. It's like, why don't we all go update our LinkedIns today?
Yes. Yes. Find me on LinkedIn. I'd love to be connected.
Yes. Okay. No, that's a really good point. And especially because this is where these conversations are happening. I hope that we can spend our final moments together getting sort of a forecast from you both of what is the state of cannabis going to be in 2021, and what will the landscape of it look like? What will the industry look like in terms of ownership and more connections with BIPOC folks, even in the ancillary businesses? What can we expect things to look like? I know it's a big question, but just go with it, Ernest. Like, you're such a serious guy.
Stop. Yeah, I wish I had a crystal ball, right? But, I do know that, I was really excited to see that we had, in the fall, there were 5 states that passed measures to legalize, to basically legalize bills. And, I'm really excited about what's going to happen in my home state of Virginia. I'm already connected to folks who are, working to make sure that they get it right, and they're on track to opening up a equitable and awesome adult use market in a couple of years. So, part of what I'm doing is going to try to build some, connections now, with, trying to have a presence in places where, there are, strong BIPOC, demographics, and trying to figure out how you can get them plugged in to support this industry on the ancillary side. So, that learning curve has been reduced when those markets open. So you can probably expect to see us having more of a presence in, some developing places. I'm hoping that, we're all able to return back to going to the live events, because I think that's actually going to be a huge opportunity for everybody. I think we all missed that, face-to-face networking. I'm trying to get up to Chicago so I can connect with some folks up there, including Zach. And I think we're going to see more conversations like this. But some of the things that I know that we're going to be putting into place will include some programming where we will actually have resources and opportunities for industry people to connect. with the folks in our group.
Yes, 100%. Really excited to hang out with people again. Zach?
Yes, let me second that or third it. No, similar to Ernest, I don't have a crystal ball, but I would say I am an optimist. I think for me, one of the things that I'm looking forward to, especially here in Chicago, is to continue to see progress being made towards a more equitable and diverse cannabis industry here. During my time at Grassroots, I was able to meet a lot of amazing people of color that are trying to get into the cannabis industry as cultivators, as dispensary owners, as infusers, people trying to provide delivery services. So I'm really hoping to see that 2021 is the start of having those people really make their footprint, not only here in Illinois, but across the country. I think when it comes to the workforce and how do we make a more equitable cannabis industry, I I had read a quote by Verna Myers, who's a DE&I expert. But basically what she said is diversity is being invited to the party, inclusion is being asked to the dance. So right now we're definitely at the party. So now how does this cannabis industry ask people to dance? I think it's a really great opportunity for organizations to take that next step. And with the support of BIPOCANN and other great organizations all across the country, there's a real opportunity to make that happen.
I love a good metaphor. Thank you. That was great. And I agree that it's going to be really important for all of us to connect with each other and really utilize the resources that are necessary and that we've got available. And I do have a crystal ball, but I can say, even without looking into my crystal ball, that BIPOCANN is really going to help lead the cause and really take up this movement. So thank you both for your time today. And I encourage everyone to visit all of the website links, which we will be sure to include in the email. There's a question. Let me get to that really quick. Any recommendations for digital marketers to brush up on media compliance and education? Social is such a tricky place for this industry. True.
Ernest, you want to take lead on that, and I could follow up from my my expertise?
Digital marketers to brush up on media compliance and
so that's basically like, does that mean like having the 21, are you 21 and up, pop-ups on your website, making sure that you're saying the right thing on social media, like you can't say sell, you can't, shadow banned terms, like stuff like that, I think is what that question lends.
Yeah, Shannon, I can talk a little bit about my time. Like I said, it's been a few months since I've been in the cannabis industry, but I think the way we took our approach was, whatever the strictest state that you're operating in, or if you're communicating in multiple states, that's the approach that we take. So, to Rue's point, some states you're only allowed to call cannabis marijuana through marketing communications. Some, to Rue's point, you can't say, sell or talk about prices. I wish there was a standard, cheat sheet that you can look to. But I think that's one of the things this industry needs, right? Is how do we get uniformity in terms of how we can market in an effective manner? But I think the short answer is looking for resources. Ernest has been working with a lot of local organizations across multiple states that deal with these types of issues on a daily basis. But I think definitely be more cautious than not. It's not worth getting your account banned or suspended. I know that was something that was always in the back of my mind, but definitely play it safe when you're communicating, because it's the only way to really reach new people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd probably say, one of our partners that we work with who could also be a resource on that is the Cannabis Marketing Association. And I know that this is like an area that they, also sort of specialize in. So I just want to give them a shout out for that one.
Great. It's been such a great conversation. Thank you, Shannon, for your question. I'm really looking forward to the work that you two will be doing this year, and anything that the council or any other way that we know each other can support, let me know. And I think that brings us to a wrap. And I'm going to turn it over to Ben Gelt, chairperson of the Cannabis Certification Council Board. And thank you again to Zach and Ernest. And that has been our time. Ben, I'll send it over to you.
Thank you, Rue.